Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sonia of Sonia G Coaching, and today we are talking about Married at First Sight. This video is dedicated to the beautiful Kimberly Reviews. I left a comment on Kimberly's channel. Please check her channel out if you have not. She does live watches of Ready to Love and Married at First Sight. And she said, I want to know your thoughts. So here we are. Well, she said, I hope you share your thoughts on your channel. So I'm here on my channel sharing my thoughts. Thank you, Kimberly. And after I do these videos, if you guys want me to continue to do content on Married at First Sight, please let me know. I won't be doing a review. I will be talking about issues and maybe how we can resolve them or give a different perspective or insight into the situation, and we'll go from there. Okay. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are passing through, thank you for stopping by. Here on my channel, we have healthy discussions about life, love, dating, and relationships, and I promote self-love and healing. We're going to start with the different couples, and I don't know if I'm going to timestamp this video or do separate, but we'll find out. First couple up is Kirsten and Shaq. I actually really like Shaq. I think Shaq is a nice guy. He seems to have a really calmness and kindness about him. He seems to be very patient. He's well educated. He, which for Kirsten, she said, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, which for Kirsten, she said she wanted someone who was educated, and we'll get to her in a little bit. But with Shaq, he's well educated. He likes to socialize. He's a man of faith. He's a man of family. And he's really looking for a partnership. And I like that about him. A lot of times people want to get married or want to get into relationships for the title and the look of it all, but they're not ready or wanting the partnership. Partnership takes work. Partnership takes patience. It takes kindness. It takes compromise. It takes communication. There's a lot that comes with partnering with a person. It isn't just the looks and the aesthetic, which you hear in a lot of these couples. They're just talking about, I want somebody to go to the movies with, and that's great, but you need a little more, and you can go to the movies with your friend. So, you have to remember that you are welcoming a whole human being and their whole past, present, and future into your life. And it's good to know a little bit more about yourself so that you know exactly what you're looking for. Which takes me to Kirsten. I'm not sure how self-aware she is. Time will tell, and we're going to get into that, I guess, as the season unfolds, and we'll see a little bit more of her and get a little bit more of her backstory. For me, a lot of what she's saying and what she's doing and what she's presenting, they don't all add up, but I'm going to reserve my thoughts on that until we get a little further along. But for me, I feel like everything that she's focused on is superficial. And the problem with that is that you are partnering with someone, a human being, and life happens, things happen. And do you want to be with this person in a quiet moment? Can you sit through the storms with this person? Is this someone you want to confide in? You know what I mean? And so when your focus is just on superficial things, they're fleeting, which means the relationship is going to be fleeting. The feelings are going to be fleeting. And I wonder if her focus on looks is what has kept her single in the past. And that's not to blame her or anything like that. That's just to say sometimes we have to recognize our own patterns of behavior in order to make a change and to do better in the future. She's worried about how he looks and, his package, and all those things are fine. But what are your meat and potatoes of a relationship? What will keep you committed, right? Because what if something happens to him and he can no longer perform sexually? What if something happens to you and you can no longer perform sexually? Like, these are things that really happen in life. I'm a registered nurse. I see it all the time. So the question is, who do you want to do life with? That's the kind of question you have to ask yourself. You guys excuse my voice. I went to a Shantae Moore concert last night. So, but it's very important to just be clear about the person that you're seeking. And I want to talk a little bit about her being the picky person. I named them the couple of great expectations. She has this expectation inside. I feel there's this great expectation for someone to be perfect. Individuals like that are people who usually have one of several patterns or histories or issues or concerns. Number one, low self-esteem. And she said it herself that she's just as critical of herself as she is with others. When you are extremely critical of yourself and you can't find comfort in who you are, you're going to always point the finger at people. You're going to always pick apart people, right? You're never going to be okay with people, another individual's imperfections, because that's how you talk to yourself. One of the ways you deal with really critical people is not to take it personally and understand that that conversation that they're having with you or towards you is usually towards them. It's really an internal conversation. Whenever I see that happening, I'm thinking, wow, you really tear yourself down personally, right? It's not to say that you, as the recipient, should allow it. You definitely will need to set boundaries. I really hope that Shaq sets boundaries, because I think Shaq will be the kind of person that tries to please. He's very attracted to her. I think he'll try to please, try to make her happy. Plus, he really wants this, and you have to be careful not to sell yourself short trying to satisfy something in a person that's internal and you can't fix. You'll never be able to fill that hole, and he has to know that. Again, back to why a person is critical. So low self-esteem, insecurities, a sense of superiority, and sometimes it's because that's how they were raised. It's how the family talked to one another. It's how one of the parents or both of the parents spoke to them. They put these great expectations on their child, and now their child as an adult does it to others because that's now what they do to themselves internally, or with what they are used to. This form of behaving and communicating is a norm. And knowing that, you have to understand that that's something that you can't change. What you can do is set boundaries and requirements as to how this person is to speak to you, about you, and for you, and how they approach you. So Shaq will really need to make sure early on he expresses himself. And I don't want to say put his foot down, but he needs to put his foot down. He really needs to be firm in who he is as a man and as a person and what he has to offer. And either she is going to be accepting of that or not, right? Not to say that he can't grow, evolve, communicate, and compromise, but it can't be Shaq constantly trying to meet her need. That's never going to work, and he'll never be able to meet it. He'll never be able to be who she wants until no one will ever be able to be who she wants fully and who she deserves, quite frankly, until she learns to turn that inward and be that person for herself and do that internal work. So, like I said, there are things about her I feel aren't quite adding up, and I'm just going to wait. Time will tell. But I have questions. She's a daddy's girl, but her dad didn't show up, right? And yeah, he didn't want to get COVID tested. She called him to say that she was getting married instead of spending time with him or meeting up with him. And, I just have questions about the dynamic and about the reality of their relationships. We all experience relationships one way. We all have our perspective of relationships one way. But when you are a person who's trying to appear perfect for the world, when you're trying to be accepted, when you're trying to hide, when there is shame, you mask a lot of the truth. And that causes more shame, more anxiety, and it also causes people to be a little bit more critical. And I'm wondering, is that the cause? So for Shaq, I would say definitely use your voice, set your boundaries, communicate your concerns, have your non-negotiables, and be very clear on those. And for Kirsten, I would say, you did marry a stranger. You can't be this picky, but say, I'm going to put the fate of my husband in someone else's hands. And I know people are probably going to compare her to Mirla. And I like Mirla. I don't think that if you're really picky, you should be on the show. I actually, though, think Mirla was more flexible. I think she just had standards and people didn't understand those standards. She wanted to get to know this person, right? And I'm not sure about Kirsten. I think she's already like prejudged him. I don't know if she's willing to get to know him. We're going to see that. And then there's also the kissing incident. I really feel like that was kind of a mean girl act. And I say that because if her standard was, I'm not going to kiss because I don't know him and I want to talk to him a little bit and get to know him first, that would be one thing. That's a standard. That's just a requirement. You know, that's you setting your boundaries. That's fine. But for her, it was like, if he's fine, if I like the way he looks, if I'm attracted to him, then I'll kiss him. But if I'm not, then I'm not going to. And then she said, well, he will have to ask permission. On the after party, Keisha asked her, well, if he asked permission, would you have done it? And she still made the face like, not really. With all that being said, is you're not physically attracted to him, which is okay, but you're being married, you're getting married at first sight. You don't know what other people consider to be attractive, so you put that fate in someone else's hands. The bottom line is there needs to be some flexibility there. You can't just automatically assume that they're going to know about his ability sexually or whether or not he's attractive. Like a lot of women view him as attractive. You just don't view him as attractive. So I feel like she's going to get in her own way. And if this was someone I was working with, we would really talk about where this requirement for image comes from and how can we work on dealing with that, because wanting to be seen a certain way by other individuals or present yourself a certain way, it isn't abnormal. But when it's completely superficial and you're not seeking like true happiness and true partnership in your relationships, and when you're not being true to yourself, most importantly, it can be a very lonely place. So I have questions about them. We're going to see what happens in the future. But yeah, those are my suggestions and my thoughts for Kirsten.